everybody, my name is Luke Marr and this is Hot Lamode, and today on Hot Lamode we are bringing to you our October 2020 fashion roast and review. It's been a very tumultuous 24 hours since we started filming this video, but we need to talk about some of the looks from October 2020. Honestly, this month there was a lot to discuss, so strap in. This is gonna be a long video. I tried to not make it a long video, but they put out a lot of editorials. A lot of the girls look good, a lot of the girls look bad. It was a moment, people had a time, and there was a lot of fashion involved. So let's get right into it. So let's get started with none other than a quite political celebrity, if that's what you would like to call her, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, she is actually my congresswoman, and I voted for her, and I stan. And considering the political goings-on that's happening in America right now, we should discuss. Now, AOC was actually asked to be on the cover of Vanity Fair magazine, and she produced a quite lovely little spread for the publication, but got caught in a lot of controversy because people were like,
"You're a Democratic socialist, why are you wearing $16,000 worth of fashion clothing?"
And it was sort of like, sweetie, do you know how the fashion industry works? Nobody buys their clothes for a photo shoot for a publication. It's called pulling. Obviously, you've been pulling your brain cells out because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. First up, let's discuss AOC's look in Christopher John Rogers. Now, honestly, Christopher John Rogers is known for quite a lot of things, and one of them is his use of color. But one that I think gets a little bit less attention is his tailoring. I mean, he creates these beautiful jackets, and I mean, for fall 2020, most recently, he created these crazy, ridiculous, broad shoulder, sort of cropped jackets, and beautiful wide leg pants. They're stunning. Now here, this is more of a fitted suit that we're seeing on AOC, and it fits her beautifully. I think that's probably something that's very difficult to sort of get right, especially when you're pulling for a photo shoot. The tailoring, the fitted aspect, to make it all work. But honestly, AOC's not wearing anything underneath from what I can tell, which I stan. And honestly, I love to see the stitching going all throughout the suit. I love the color and the sheen and the shine that sort of falls off of this jacket as well. Obviously, we can't see the pants, so we don't know how they fit, but honestly, tailoring-wise, CJR has it. He has the Electoral College down pat in this regard. Another tailored look comes out from Loewe, which is by Jonathan Anderson. Now, she's wearing a pretty simple little black jacket and pant. It's oversized. The pants, she's a little bit big. Like the 29 votes that New York has in the Electoral College. I'm not gonna stop making Electoral College jokes for the rest of this segment. There's sort of like a raffia style jumping out here, and it's layered. It's a red and then a yellow and then a sort of normal beigey khaki raffia style. I actually think it adds a little bit of interest. To me, it's very Jonathan Anderson for Loewe. It's a pretty normal, nice piece, probably made of very nice, luxurious, expensive fabrics, but there's one little aspect that's a bit off. It's a bit funky, not really chunky. Well, the suit is kind of chunky. It just adds a little bit of character. And I like to see that AOC isn't just buttoned up, boring sort of congresswoman that we would expect from a lot of political people. AOC's getting into it. She has no problem, turning out an interesting, exciting little look. Finally, AOC is wearing a custom Grace Wales Bonner dress, and it is a sort of navy blue, full of white polka dots with a nice little white collar. It's nothing crazy. It's not even a ridiculous sort of dress. So when we say custom, I actually don't know whether or not AOC got to take this dress home. And also, Wales Bonner is a British brand, so in no way is it sort of weird that if this look was gifted to her after the shoot, it's not like Wales Bonner is hey, what's up? I want to win something, or give me a tax-free evasion experience. That's not happening here. It's from a British brand. They probably really like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, as does a lot of people, so it's understandable. Honestly, it's not my favorite look from all of the shoot, but it's fine for me, and honestly, I like to see that AOC takes a little bit of a fashion risk. She takes a lot of risks in other places as well, which are highly regarded and beloved by me, one of her constituents. And it's nice to see that she also does that in a sartorial sense as well. Next up is Dixie D'Amelio, and she is wearing Chanel. Now, Dixie has become sort of a Chanel girl. I believe her sister Charlie is a Prada girl, and I'm pretty positive that Addison Rae, another TikTok star, is a Miu Miu shoe-in. So Honestly, I feel kind of bad for Dixie because if I was going to be a Chanel girl, I'd like to be a Chanel girl under like Karl Lagerfeld and not Virginie Viard because it's just not that exciting of a look. It's a full white sort of experience. I'm assuming that these sort of leathery PVC-ish patent pants and jacket both are sort of the same fabric. There's a simple white shirt underneath, a lot of costume jewelry from Chanel, and a simple sort of black and gold Chanel bag as well. Honestly, it's nothing crazy, it's nothing ridiculous, and the other photos that Dixie posted from, I believe, the fall 2020 ready-to-wear collection, also far worse. Like, listen, I'm sorry, but like the breakaway button-up pants, still not cute, and I'm sorry you can't put it on a TikTok star and expect me to like it. Sorry, it's just not gonna happen. Another social media celebrity, Emma Chamberlain, is a Louis Vuitton woman. And honestly, I'm not really mad about this look that she posted for the, Spring Summer 2021 collection. Now, this look, I actually don't think it's necessarily like a runway look, but I also wouldn't expect them to be dressing Emma in like off the runway looks. I think looks that are more sort of approachable, more understandable to a younger audience who is more willing to spend money on pieces that are going to be worn for a long time, and sort of like the whole sustainability thing where wear something more than once is what that market is probably pushing for and looking towards. And so Emma in a little puffer coat by Louis Vuitton. It's a very minute, small little monogram, so it's less offensive. And a little sort of jumpsuit, it looks like, of these beautiful pants with this gorgeous sort of racing stripe in light and navy blue coming down the side. It's accentuated with a little blue button-up collar shirt. And while I'm not obsessed with it, the little chunky loafers with the LV insignia on them, I get it, I understand, I see it. Overall, it's not the worst Louis Vuitton look that Emma Chamberlain has ever wore, so I'm just gonna take this and roll with it and be happy. Gabrielle Union came in hot wearing Christopher John Rogers. There is a lot of Christopher John Rogers going on right now. Now, this is from the Spring Summer 2021 collection, I believe. Now, it's part of that like ombre sort of style, pasty yellow, and then a sort of normal yellow, and then like a marigold, and then sort of like a mustard yellow. And in a way, it's very interesting. Again, it's playing on that idea of tailoring that Christopher John Rogers has. I like the fact that honestly, the blazer and the pants both sort of take on that ombre effect. And I guess it's not really like an ombre effect because they don't really bleed into each other very, very well. To be honest, I actually do quite enjoy the look. It's not something that I normally think I would be living for, but it's something that consistently Christopher John Rogers has shown that he knows how to play with color, and it's not just one bright color on a suit, it's multiple. And does it work? Yeah, if you know the background. Next up is for those Harry Styles stans who are constantly in my comments looking for attention and gratification. Now, Harry Styles released his music video for his song Golden, and there were quite a lot of looks, so we'll talk about a couple of them. The first is the one that sort of stuck out to me the most, which was Harry Styles shirtless, for obvious reasons. So the pants that he is wearing are by the brand Stephen Stoley Daley, and something about the pleats of this pair of trousers, and I mean like the drama of the pleats, is what sort of drew me to it. I do like the fact that Harry sort of constantly is going after a high-waisted style. It's very understandable because listen, after you eat something, high waist helps. It just covers it up. It's really enjoyable, I must say. I like that it's a really simple sort of pattern. Here's my thing. I feel that as much as Harry is a Gucci guy, trademark that, he also really works with brands like Bode, which is sort of upcycling of sustainable styles in like one-of-a-kind pieces. And this sort of style is very reminiscent of that to me. I'm not saying they're the same. I don't know the fabrics. I don't know anything about that. I'm just saying it's sort of the vibe. And I actually really like these pants. I can't tell if they're printed or embroidered. I'm assuming that they're printed on, but it does sort of have that like rural, old-timey sort of style. And I feel like Harry Styles really does love a good like oldish man sort of style suit. Whenever I see Harry Styles, I'm like, oh my god, he's dressed like my grandfather, but better. And like, shout out to my granddad, but Harry Styles got it. And I do like a funky hat. I like this little yellow hat. It's interesting, it's different. It sort of has like that fisherman vibe. And I feel like Harry Styles for like J.W. Anderson or Loewe would also be kind of cute if he's ever not doing the Kering experience anymore. But overall, I do like the pants. They definitely caught my eye, and I like a dramatic pleat. What can I say? Next up is from what I believe a full Gucci experience. Again, Gucci guy, trademark. Here's my thing. It's just a bit meh, and I think that for me, the relationship between Gucci and Harry is getting a little bit You know, it's just the same thing oftentimes. And now here's my thing. If Harry sort of started to like take on elements from like the women's weary aspect and the men's weary aspect, I'd be very, very happy with it. I feel like the fine line sort of era is very suited up, you know, blazers and shirts and sweaters and all that. So I understand. But in the next era, I like a little bit more excitement, a little bit more adventure, a little bit less suiting. So there is this very garishly blue blazer, which is actually quite long and quite boxy. It's not the worst thing in the entire world, and I'll give it a pass for the sole reason that I know Harry's fine line era is very suited. I do think that the little shirt underneath isn't really super duper exciting. I know that's Gucci as well, but I do like the gloves. That's the thing that I think Harry Lambert, who styles Harry Styles, does very, very, very well. While there is sort of this like really oldish man-y sort of garment experience, he does sort of jazz it up quite well with accessories, whether it's hats or gloves or jewelry like pearls. In that regard, it's fun, it's frisky. It adds in that little feminine element that I think people are always looking for from Harry Styles and that he usually gives to us. So I think the little knit gloves, perfect way to do that. Next up is Jaden Smith on the cover of Paper Magazine. Now here he is wearing this Levi's blue sort of jacket. I believe this is a Levi's collaboration. And here's my thing. Listen, love Levi's. I do think that those Mugler stitched denim styles would have been so much more exciting. Here, I just feel like it would have been more dynamic. It would have had more of like a sensual sort of feeling. Even the way that he's like posed like this, I feel like the stitching would have come and sort of drawn you right into his six-pack. Like that's what I would have been looking for, but that's just me. Next up, Jaden is wearing this Alexander McQueen sort of silky satin jacket, which I assume is like a full silky satin suit. And unfortunately, just the way that it's shot isn't that exciting to me because McQueen is all about tailoring. So I'd like to see the full tailored experience. Do I think that it looks good? Yeah, it's, you know, it's fine, but I'd like to see a little bit more of the full look, especially with like a tailored suit like this from McQueen. But that's just me. I'm a McQueen stan. That's the experience I want, you know what I mean? But there is a Nina Ricci by Rushmi Badar and Lixie Hairbra experience going on now. It's this sort of cropped little blazer jacket, which actually is really, really nice. And I like to see that there is a bit of, you know, crop drama going on in a menswear look. Also, this shirt underneath that sort of flows out and it sort of looks like a dressy sort of top is really, really cool and different. And the way that it's paired with a really simple little pair of light blue jeans ties back into the blazer, which I think is really, really smart. And something about these weird, quirky sneakers is something that I do enjoy about Jaden. They're not crazy, they're not ridiculous. Like, Jaden can get away with a sneaker, in my opinion. Overall, it's a cute look, very interesting, and I like that at least once there was a little bit of fashion avant-garde styling being taken place in this shoot, especially with Jaden Smith. Like, you know, if you can do it with anybody, it's Jaden Smith. Next up is James Charles, and we haven't learned. It's been years, James. We haven't learned. The icy blue, I think it's fine. I guess it works. It makes sense. Like the bondage crop tops, they gotta go. Listen, if you can do like the bondage styles and something interesting, like maybe, but it's getting a little bit tired at this point. And then also like the sweatsuit sort of style that looks like denim. Again, it's gotta go. It's not that interesting. I think James needs to like walk on into a new era, a new style, a new look. It's boring. Adding a Jacquemus bag doesn't help, especially when Jacquemus is sort of out of the limelight for like at least a year now. She's just not that girl. And the Off-White Jordan collaboration doesn't help it at all either. Listen, they may be very expensive, but very expensive does not make a taste. It just doesn't. I do wish that the social media gals would get it together because it's really disappointing to watch. It just is. It's sad. Like, they could be doing so much more. They could be doing so much more interesting, like, referential shit. And yet, we get athleisure. For what? Next up, let's talk about the Blackpink experience that is going on. We'll go through all 4 of the young women from Blackpink for their Elle cover and shoot. I'm not going to talk about the cover because, like, it was boring, but it's just very interesting to watch the Blackpink women sort of work with their exclusive brands that they're a part of. First up is Jennie, and she is wearing a look from what I believe is either the Resort or Haute Couture collection from Chanel. I'm not sure. I don't remember. It all looks the same to me. I actually do like this dress a lot. I think it's cute. I feel like I thought it was cute when it first came out, and I still feel like it's cute now. It's sort of a very simple strapless black sort of bodice. Do I love the belt? No, but I do understand the reference of Chanel's sort of costume jewelry, mosaic sort of styles. I get it. It's fine. I'll deal with it in this case. But the puffed sleeve gloves, or like the puff sleeve attached sleeves to the dress, I'm not really sure which it is stunning. It adds that extra little oomph, that extra little opulence, that extra little drama. And also, I think when you look back at the history of Chanel, the little black dress is an iconic style that Coco Chanel helped to sort of make mainstream. So it's a nice little reference back to that Nazi as well. So yeah. Next up is Jisso in Dior, and this is boring. I do like Jisso a lot, and honestly, I feel like there are better Dior looks that we could have gotten in this case. This sort of like fishnetty style with simple bodysuit or skirt or whatever with a belt, because Maria Grazia has to add a belt everywhere. It's just blah. It's really fucking blah. And then also, you're like putting these full combat boots on display, and there's nothing interesting about them. There's nothing exciting. There's nothing that differentiates them from the $69 version from Payless. Like, honestly, I take the Payless ones at this point because it looks no fucking different. Like, I'd rather save the money in this case. And this is my problem with Dior. Maria Grazia, sometimes she has it, sometimes it's a moment, sometimes it's cute, and I understand the ideals and values that she's instilled into the brand. But it doesn't make it any less fucking boring. Next up is Miss Lisa, La Lisa, as I like to call her. She is wearing Celine, and she is an Eddie Slimane for Celine woman. This like pilgrim dress, you know what? I don't want to like it, but I do. I like the fact that all of the looks are sort of black. It ties in, you know, black, pink. Maybe if there was like a little element of pink dropped in there, maybe it'd be a bit too obvious for the blinks, but for me, I would have enjoyed it. Overall, the pilgrim dress with the little sort of black belted, you know, pleated skirt aspect, and then the ruffly collar and, you know, cuff. I think it's cute. Is it exciting? Absolutely not. Is Eddie Slimane at Celine exciting? Absolutely not. But what the man does is he makes nice clothing. Like, I can tell you that dress is probably, what, $3,000? But is it probably worth it? You know, maybe half, maybe on sale, possibly. The thing about Eddie is he just, you know, goes to the vintage store and says, oh, I like this, I like this, I like this. Let's make a pattern, let's recreate it in expensive fabrics and throw it on a rack. Apparently it's working very well for him because Celine's doing pretty good from what I hear. These pilgrim ass heels though, they're hot, they're sexy, they're good. I would like a pair of them. They're sort of drama. I like the fact that there's this like new wave pilgrim ring. When you look at a pilgrim shoe, like it has the gold sort of square buckle. Here, Eddie has turned it into a circular buckle. And like, listen, I'm not into like burning witches at the stake, but I put on that heel every once in a while, if you know what I mean. And finally, we have Rosé, who is a Saint Laurent woman. Do I like this look? No. But do I look at the bead sort of work that has seemingly gone into this experience? Yes. And do I appreciate it? Absolutely. I do like the fact that it's sort of this, you know, stripes of beads and colors and drama. And then Anthony Vaccarello has really taken on the whole latex experience. It seems to be a thing that he's very comfortable doing, something that he really seems to want and like to do. So in that regard, I can appreciate it. Overall, I have to say, besides from Jisso and Rosé, I actually do like the placements of Lisa and Jennie at Chanel and Celine, respectively. And I do like these looks here as well. Next up is Justin Bieber and Hailey Bieber for the cover of Vogue Italia. Let's just get this one out of the way. It's fucking boring. I don't care. It's not interesting. Doesn't make me excited. Like, what's the point of it? Where was the excitement? Like, this is Saint Laurent by Anthony Vaccarello as well. And like, yeah, does the dress look silky? Like the sheets behind it? Yes. But do I think that putting silk sheets on a silky dress makes any sense for it standing out? Like, the dress doesn't stand out at all because I'm like, oh, is that a sheet or is that the bag? Because honestly, I look at it and I say, is that a sheet or is that the dress? I'm confused. Next up is Kim Kardashian, and she is wearing a Laquan Smith, what I believe spring-summer 2021 look. Now, this must be custom because Kim loves a custom experience, but I do like this. I love this leather. I think it's so beautiful. I love the way that the light shines off of it. It's so beautiful to see the simple sort of stitching and the way that the corset sort of top comes down right at the crotch. I actually think is really, really nice. I like the straps. It ends in beautifully. The way that that Laquan also can capture a breast. Beautiful. He does wonderful things. As for the pants, also really, really nice. They're not as dramatic in terms of stitching as the corset is, but I wouldn't expect them to be. Overall, I'm happy to see this kind of look get out, and especially in somebody like Kim. I think Laquan is perfect for the Kardashian brand in that way, and I'm not calling him trashy at all, but I do think that he would know how to make clothing perfectly for bodies like those, and I'm happy to see that he's at least getting custom orders from them. Next up is Kristen Stewart at Chanel. Now, Kristen Stewart has been a Chanel woman for years. Years and years and years and years and years. She's even like walked in shows before. Roll the clip. But this is, I don't like it, but I feel like I understand it. Now, Kristen Stewart definitely has a more masculine side to her dressing, and I feel like it comes out at certain points, and I feel like here, this is that. It definitely is a mixture of the feminine and masculine. The skirt sort of adds in that, but between like the black patent leather loafers, the sort of oversized, chunky jacket, and the black tie, I'm getting very butch vibes, but I think that works here. I don't like the skirt, I'll be honest. I don't like the fit of the skirt. I don't like the length of the skirt. I just don't think it's terribly attractive, but the whole vibe of the look isn't really off. I do think that the black tie isn't really necessarily like super Chanel, but Virginie Viard might turn the brand around and make it into something that ties are chic. Ties are in, ties are happening. Do I love the shoes? Also no, but again, I think Virginie Viard, in the same way that Maria Grazia at Dior, has turned the brand into much more accessible, much more wearable, much more functional. I think that's gonna happen more and more at Chanel, and we're gonna see it a lot more and more at Chanel, and I think this is a great example of that tide sort of turning. Hopefully it's a blue tide. Next up is Kylie Jenner, and she is wearing what I believe is custom Versace. I didn't know that Kylie and Donatella Versace were very good friends, but hey, to each their own. The dress just isn't that exciting. It does fit her, which is interesting. Again, I just don't know physically how a waist that small is possible, but again, none of my business. I have nothing to say about it. It's just miraculous to see that the dress fits. Do I think it's exciting? No. Do I think it's interesting? No. And if you told me that it was from Fashion Nova, I would believe it. So there's that assessment on the garment, but it fits. Letitia Wright is wearing Chanel, and like, this is it. This is the moment I wanted. This is the Chanel that's hot and sexy and cool and amazing and wonderful. This is, to me, very accessible, very wearable. I love this pink on Letitia. I think it's stunning. I love these little pockets. I don't even know if they're functional. I don't give a shit if they're functional. I know we do like a functional pocket, but the way that they sort of help frame the waist here is really stunning. It's really gorgeous. The fit of the jacket is amazing because I think Letitia seems very lanky, and between the sleeves and the length of the jacket, it just all works. I like that we're getting a really sort of simple pant. Do I wish it fit a little bit better at the hem? I do. I really do. But you know what? It works enough for me. As for the shoes, they're sort of the classic Chanel black tipped shoe with a little bit of a gold edge. It's doable. And very rarely am I into a Chanel shoe like this, but it's doable. Next up is Lil Nas X. Now, he is wearing a Berluti coat that I'm obsessed with. It's very cute. It's very sexy. Chris Van Ash, he's doing something right, I guess. As for the pants, they are Telfar from what I understand, and they're like a flared leather. Listen, this is a great example of a shirt is not required. Give me a fur coat over a beautiful leather pant. I'm sold. I'm happy. I'm in it to win it. Gorgeous. Lil Nas X said, I don't want any shirts. No shirts on set. We're done. Thank you. So this Dior Men by Kim Jones look, honestly, I wasn't really sold on it ever on the runway, but I like the fact that it's only buttoned at the top and sort of flares out this sort of, you know, dramatic fabric flower. It's not offending me as much as it used to. And the pants, while they're not super exciting, they fit. And I think they allow the jacket to really be the showpiece of the look, which I think is very important in this case. Overall, Lil Nas X is good at selling things, and he's selling me on Dior Men, so again, I'll take it. Finally, again, listen, no shirts on set. Like, that must have been a very clear rule from the get-go. I like this Margiela look. I like the fact that you can see the stitches in it. I think if John Galliano has done anything well at Margiela, it's sort of infusing his use of color, drama, and silhouette with the sort of reconstruction and deconstruction aspect of Margiela that the brand has been known for since the late 1980s. The trench coat sort of adds in that British flair to me. And you know what? The shirtless style with the red pant underneath, they complement pretty well. I'll take it. Overall, for Lil Nas X, I actually think that this shoot is a really great example of him using that sort of flamboyant flair while also sort of tying in, you know, not like cross-dressing, if that makes sense. I don't think it's bad to cross-dress. I'm currently wearing a women's jacket. I do it often. But I think for a lot of people, the whole idea of like men and women's clothing still scares them. And I think Lil Nas X, working with CR Men's Fashion Book, which is a men's magazine, has sort of worked well in that way too, wearing menswear, but doing it in a way that's not boring or just a suit or, you know, really stuffy and like toxic masculinity. Next, let's talk about our friend Emily in Paris, aka Lily Collins. And Lily Collins as a Saint Laurent girl is actually kind of hot. It's really sexy. It's really good. I really, really like it. The first cover for Vogue Arabia here is this latex sort of burgundy, sexy little turtleneck. I don't know if it's a dress or a top or whatever, but honestly, I think when you're doing close-up shots for a magazine cover, playing with fabric is so important. You really need to find a fabric that really screams, this is hot, this is luxurious, this is fashion. And I think that the latex by Saint Laurent is perfect. I like the fact that Lily Collins has consistently worked with Saint Laurent recently to sort of get a look that is a little bit more edgy than Emily in Paris. And I think that in a way she needs to separate herself from that character. I think that Emily in Paris is going to be around for a long time. In my opinion, I think the numbers showed that very, very well. And you know what? I think separating her brand from the brand of the show is really, really important, and I think the Saint Laurent look is doing that. Another Saint Laurent look for the cover of Vogue Arabia is this sort of black, what I can tell, a sort of latexy glove, but Saint Laurent by Anthony Vaccarello sort of really instituted these sort of crazy shapes throughout the seasons that I do really enjoy. I don't think they sell, but they're really exciting to see, and I think they're a little bit more reminiscent of Monsieur Saint Laurent than black crepe dresses. And I feel like here, this dramatic sort of floral shape that looks a little bit like a mushroom, it's really cool. It's really exciting. It's really interesting. And again, you're shooting close up, so you need to pick a garment that really is exciting and avant-garde and out there and sort of drama. And I think this is a great example of that. I really like the look. I think it's very cute. I think it's very chic. I think it works. Next up is Lily Rose Depp, and she was at the Chanel show in Paris. I feel like a lot of Americans weren't really allowed at the show because coronavirus, which understandable. But she is wearing the iconic Pussy Pathway pants. Do I think they look good? No. But are they there? Absolutely. This is like a full ass look. Like this is ripped straight out of the lookbook. And I don't really think it's that exciting. I don't think the floral bandeau is like wonderful. And I don't think the blazer is necessarily amazing either, although it does correlate to the jeans. So there's that. I would like to see if the Pussy Pathway jeans sell. I just would. I think it would be very interesting in telling whether or not a younger, sort of cooler demographic at Chanel like the idea of the tweed and like the idea of mixing the tweed with something that's very accessible and something that's wearable sort of every day. It's very interesting to listen to Jamie Chua talk about the fact that when she puts on a Chanel tweed experience, she goes from looking, 45 to 65. And she doesn't want that. And I think that a lot of younger customers at Chanel probably also don't want to look older than they actually are in Chanel. Because listen, you're not paying, what, $2,000 for a jacket that's going to make you look older? And there's nothing wrong with looking older. I'm just listening to the things that people are saying. I feel like it'd be interesting to see whether or not a tweed and denim style is something that a customer would say, oh, this actually is kind of cool. It's kind of young. It's kind of insightful. It works for me. So I'd like to know. Next up is Lizzo wearing Christian Siriano, which honestly, it's not my favorite match, but I think it's a match that works because if anybody knows how to dress a plus-size woman, it is Christian Siriano. I mean, from that Vogue cover, we've seen that a lot of brands don't know what they're doing. This sort of simple plaid look that I believe is Lizzo sort of inspiring people to vote, it's very good. It's very sort of, I'm gonna say casual. It's easy. It's understandable to the everyday person. It's not some crazy, over-the-top, ridiculous, avant-garde look that's gonna have people in the Midwest saying, oh, these liberal elites on the coast. So I guess in that regard, it works. And also, like, it fits. I'll take that with Christian Siriano at this point. It fits. It's in a, motif that's not the worst thing in the entire world. Cool. We must discuss Mary J. Blige in Hood by Air. Now, Hood by Air is a brand that has sort of been out of the view of the fashion industry for a couple of years, but in recent months it is coming back, which thank God, because Shane Oliver was one of the only exciting things about American fashion. And I think that this Hood by Air dress and look shot for Garage Magazine was actually really stunning. Gabriella Karifa-Johnson, to me, is one of the stylists that is making some of the most iconic images of the 21st century. Listen, I know we're only a fifth into it, but this is what we're seeing so far. Now, this Hood by Air gown is stunning. It's still one of the most iconic pieces. I do love this gown. I think it's really beautiful. I love the fact that there's sort of this deconstruction aspect to it. So it's sort of like a white cocktail dress that's off the shoulder a little bit, but the zippers that are iconic of Hood by Air sort of tie in a skirt after that sort of transparent or non-existent section. And then the gloves, love it, beautiful, amazing. My favorite part about it is when a puffer coat is added to it, and honestly, it reminds me of like a late 18th century sort of bustle style. I don't know if that's what they were trying to reference, but it's all I can see. And to me, it's sort of like a modern bustle. I know that, a lot of Hood by Air pieces are sort of transformative. At least from my experience, I have a hoodie that sort of zips all the way around like this, so it has like a detachable aspect to it. And I think that's what's happening here with this puffer coat. It's a puffer coat that can be worn as a puffer coat, but I think if you probably loop some things or belt some things or tie some things, it can turn into a sort of off the back, dramatic, silhouette creating piece. And I think that's what's been done here. And it really, to me, is referential of that sort of bustle style that is incredibly well known and beloved by the costume history people of the world. Overall, it's a really cute look. Happy to see Hood by Air back, and Mary J. Blige looks fucking stunning. So yes, now you're probably looking at me and you're probably saying, Luke, your hair is different and we're watching the same video. It's been a few days since I filmed the first part, and also I got a haircut, so now you know. But let's move on quickly to our next discussee, who is Megan Thee Stallion. Now she's wearing Balmain, and honestly, these are the kind of moments I want for Megan. Now, this tweed white jacket is phenomenal. I am obsessed with it. I think that it sort of takes in that sort of classic tweed elegance and class and stuffiness, but the way that, I don't know if it's the stitches or it's the weaving, has sort of fallen out of it and creates this little beautiful droplet, almost like icicles when it snows on, the roof of your house, and turns it into that sort of experience where it's white and fluffy, almost like fake snow at Christmas time, and puts it on the hem of the jacket and the cuff of the sleeves. It's actually really lovely. I think it adds a nice little dimension that takes tweed from being like stuffy and boring and sad to a little bit more elegant, a little bit more technical, a little bit more exciting. And then honestly, a simple sort of black tweed dress, I'm assuming, is what's going on underneath it. It gives it a nice little backdrop that is very subtle and allows the color to really jump out at you. This is what I want to see for Megan. Like, it doesn't always have to be a big ball gown or whatever. Like, I like a chic little moment like this. This is like Megan going to, I don't know, the bank. Like, this is what I want to see. It's really sweet. It's really lovely. I hope that Megan and Balmain start to work together a little bit more, because I think Megan and Olivier really could make some magic happen, as we're seeing here. Next up is Normani, and she is on the cover of Teen Vogue wearing Christopher John Rogers. Now, we discussed Christopher John Rogers suiting earlier in the episode or the video, or what, I don't even know what we call these anymore. But it's this quite bright, orangey, yellow, floral suit with a black backdrop, which again, using the black as a way to allow the color to really pop is very smart. And again, I think it's Christopher John Rogers' strong suit. And I mean, this is a strong suit, but it's also his strong suit, if you know what I'm trying to say. It's a little bit oversized, but at the same time, it still creates a figure. It creates a little bit of a nipped-in waist, and it has sort of a quite large shoulder, which gives off that sort of 80s power suit vibe that, we love historically, and a little bit of a flare towards the hem of the jacket, but it doesn't fall into like a skinny little cigarette pant. It falls into a quite nice oversized pant, and sometimes oversized pants are really hard to pull off, and I think Christopher has pulled them off perfectly in a way where they're not like baggy, they're not falling to the floor, they're oversized, but they're not like ill-fitting. And I think Normani has pulled it off. I mean, that little strike of the leg where it sort of is a little bit more tapered at the top and falls into a more oversized silhouette towards the knee area. It's actually really, really lovely. And again, Christopher John Rogers doing suits. It makes sense. It's easy to see. He knows what he's doing. And then you have the whole other extravaganza circus festival of Christopher John Rogers ball gowns and dresses and tops. And like the man is on a one-way track to the top. Next up, Normani is actually wearing Laquan Smith. Now this is one of those quilted sort of patent leather or PVC styles, and honestly, it's so good. Now I feel like people are gonna look at that and say, oh, it's so ill-fitting, it's so big, it's so baggy, but again, while I'm not a fan of a belt, I love the fact that they have cinched this belt so tight that the waist is tiny. And your waist doesn't have to be tiny, but the waist being tiny allows the coat to create almost like a skirt-like bouffant effect, where it's not, you know, strangling the coat, rather it's sort of creating a new shape. And honestly, this popped up lapel or collar sort of adds this like more masculine feeling to it, while allowing the sleeves still to be a little bit baggy, a little bit crunchy, but honestly, you have the skirt and the collar to sort of take away from that. I personally wouldn't necessarily have chosen the tights underneath. I feel like they're a little bit, but also maybe she's wearing a Laquan Smith sort of bodysuit or jumpsuit or catsuit underneath. I'm not super sure, but I do like the shoes. I don't know why they like curve like that at sort of the arch area, but I'm kind of interested in it. Like it looks like she has a really weird bunion, but I'm down for a Funyun bunion. Overall, Laquan Smith also, it looks really nice. It's really sweet. I think it's really cute, and it's sort of elevated a fabric that I'm not always sold on from Laquan Smith, and I'll take it. The last look that Normani wears is by Schiaparelli, and not obsessed. It's sort of one of these like belle-esque dresses. It sort of is strapless, and then it comes onto the sleeve, and it's just this sort of big belle-like silhouette. I don't really love it with the gloves. I don't really love it with like the dead Muppet raffia heels that's only showing like a big toe. It's one of the more disappointing looks from this whole shoot. And here's my thing. If you're gonna do like a belle silhouette, don't shoot it sitting down, because then it just looks like a big blob of fabric. I'd rather see it standing up so that, I don't know, we can at least like see the full shape. Otherwise, it's just like a fabric monster is eating her, and I don't want that for Normani. Next up is Rosalia, and she is wearing a Balmain logo printed pagoda shoulder crop top biker short set. Now, Kim Kardashian actually recently wore this, and so I'm not sure if the Balmain team was like, we're just gonna keep throwing this look out at a bunch of people, but I'm not really obsessed with the way this is shot. I'd rather sort of have seen the full look. Also, I really am not obsessed with the way that both Kim and Rosalia like are holding a doorway and both standing in a doorway. It just seems a little bit too similar. I'm not like really mad at it. It's sort of selling me a little bit, but I think the pagoda shoulders look a little bit wonky here. Like one is sort of curved up, the other one's sort of just like flat on the other side. And I know I'm being a little bit picky for Rosalia, but it is hard when you've already seen the look. As for the biker shorts, they look fine, but I don't know. I'm not obsessed with the black waistband and black elastic at the hem of the shorts. Also, the bag is just a little bit of like a blah plus. I do like the full gloved experience though. I think like a full sleeve with glove attached is actually kind of lovely. Will you be able to log into your phone with a touchscreen? I don't think so, but we appreciate a dedication. Next up is Sia, and she was on the cover of Vogue Australia, and she's wearing Margiela. Now, honestly, Sia has sort of taken this whole I don't want you to see the majority of my face thing for years, and I like the way that it's actually shot here. I do love this big rose. I wonder if it's actually a headpiece or if they just like Photoshop that on top, because if it is a headpiece, where is it from? How do I get one? And can I wear one to every single family function so nobody knows what I'm actually seeing, thinking, feeling, or, you know, demonstrating on my face? As for the Margiela coat, I do like the red, and I do like the fact that we can see the stitching. As we talked about with Lil Nas X, getting to actually see that little contrast stitching is really cool. I do enjoy it. It sort of adds the bright, punchy color of John Galliano's Margiela with the sort of deconstruction and reconstruction aspect of Martin Margiela himself, but I don't love the big one sleeve. I know that the styling of that is not necessarily able to control the gigantic asymmetrical sleeve, but it's just a little bit much, it's a little bit heavy, and I just think it's a bit, it just looks weird. Like, I'd never actually buy a coat that has one gigantic shoulder of red. I mean, listen, you've seen me in a lot of asymmetrical looks. A lot. But this one's a little bit too much for me. Now, see it in this white and pink and red Toa Koizumi sort of manipulated tulle with gigantic like bow, asymmetrical headpiece and scarf tassel ribbon. I love it. She looks like a gigantic blob of tulle and I'm obsessed with it. I think it's brilliant. I think it's gorgeous. I think it's stunning. I think the colors are so deep. I could go swimming in it. And as for the headpiece, I think the asymmetry of it actually sort of works here. I love the way that they've got the sort of ribbons to fly up, almost as if they're stuck in the air. I do actually really, weirdly enough, like the sort of asymmetry of the bow, because I feel like it looks like cute little rabbit ears. I don't know, I'm enjoying it. Overall, this is like my favorite look, and I wish this had been the cover. I feel like it's chef's kiss, beautiful, stunning, gorgeous, amazing. Now, Solange Knowles, an icon in my eyes, was on the cover of Harper's Bazaar, and honestly, this is the sort of fun covers I like to see. And now, Condé Nast, which owns magazines like Vogue and Love, is really boring, and I think we've collectively seen that it's just so but Harper's Bazaar and Elle and Marie Claire, which are all owned by Hearst magazines or Hearst Media or whatever, actually put out really interesting covers. I mean, we had those Cardi B covers where she was like Rapunzel or she was like breathing fire. And so Harper sort of takes a bit of excitement with their work. And honestly, Solange Knowles in a bathtub laughing with an afro and Telfar Clemens' beautiful logo boots, that's what I want to see. Like, this is exciting, this is interesting, this is funny, this is funky, and there's a little bit of a fashion element played in there. Now, you can see the Telfar boots, you probably can't see them super duper well, but essentially it's the T in the boot and then a C sort of wrapped around it, and that's what I like to see. That's what I love to see. It's beautiful. It's probably not an advertiser, and normally on the cover, advertiser brands are usually what goes there, but I love that Harper's took the risk and put a cool, amazing, wonderful brand like Telfar that is super duper popular and everybody's obsessed with it on the cover. Laquan Smith has gotten a lot of love this video, and I feel like this leather sort of bandage dress that's like gathered and wrapped and pulled and asymmetrical is actually really, really lovely. I feel like it's a nice, simple dress that is, you know, easily understandable, I feel like is accessible and sort of commercial enough for people to say, oh, I could wear that. Oh, I'd like to wear that. You know, when COVID is over and we can go and live our lives normally. And weirdly enough, there's something about utilizing the leather to actually use the gathering aspect that creates texture and also creates a differentiation of the light. So certain aspects are a little bit whiter, other parts a little bit darker. The asymmetry isn't like the worst thing I've ever seen, because normally I feel like a thin asymmetrical sort of strap is very but this one's kind of thick. It covers more of the shoulder, so it feels a little bit less, oh, let me just put one strap on so that I feel different. It actually seems like this is a more functional garment that you can wear more than once. And I actually love these boots. Now, these are Christopher Kane boots, and you probably can tell they're Christopher Kane from the little jellies that like wrap around the top of her foot. But I love a knee-high boot. I like a little python moment, and I think the jellies add that little bit of differentiation that makes Christopher Kane wacky and weird and out there and avant-garde. Next up is Storm Reid. Now, Storm Reid, I believe, is a Miu Miu woman at this point, and I am obsessed with this look. Now, I like the fact that it's shot in black and white. I actually think it's really, really beautiful. Boot! I love this little crystal dress. I like that it's shot over a sort of black button-up shirt. I feel like it allows the black button-up shirt to, again, be the background. I think that's really important. I think when a stylist does it really, really well, or a brand does it really, really well, it allows for the garment on top to actually take center stage. I'm not normally a big crystal gal at all, But something about the deep plunge of this crystal is really, really lovely. And then the way that it sort of pipes the hem and is sort of placed all throughout the skirt is actually kind of nice. Now I will say, weirdly enough, if you love the crown, if you're big into the royal family and all that sort of thing, the way that this dress has been shot is actually kind of reminiscent of one of Princess Diana's really early photographs that was something that was kind of embarrassing to her. We actually could do a video about The Crown season 4 and Princess Diana if you want, talking about some of her most iconic looks. But I have to say that a skirt that she was shot in before she was actually engaged to Prince Charles was sort of see-through, so everybody could see like the length and shape of her legs. Now, she apparently was very, very mortified by it and sort of changed the way that she wanted to present herself in the public eye, because she didn't want to, you know, be seen as something by the subjects of the crown as sort of like, you know, a little bit, I don't want to say slutty because it wasn't slutty, but like, and it was like the early 80s and like people had really shitty mindsets. They still have shitty mindsets now, but you get the vibe. People probably thought, ooh, that's who Prince Charles is gonna marry. She's showing off her legs under a skirt. So it sort of is reminiscent of that today, but like now, I feel like the subjects are all like, Storm Reid, you look fucking fantastic. You look gorgeous. They're beautiful, amazing, stunning. I'm so happy that you showed them off to me. I feel honored. So I don't know, it was a cute little tidbit that I noticed. Then Timothee Chalamet was on the cover of GQ magazine, and I believe that he's wearing all Prada in a sort of checkered coat, a little black shirt, kind of baggy pant, and these shin-length red rubber boots. Overall, I think it's a little bit of a boring look for Timmy. I actually would like to see Timmy in a cool, interesting Prada men's look, and I feel like a lot of Prada men's is cool and interesting and definitely is something that I think Timothee Chalamet would look good in. But this feels very like discombobulated, very like men's fashion magazine that we're just gonna shoot because like it's just ugh. But I will say that this pairing of a Bottega Veneta jacket with a Kenneth Ize simple stripe top underneath is brilliant. Now, the Bottega jacket has very long sleeves, and I feel like Timothee Chalamet has very long appendages, so this sort of makes sense, although they're a little bit long for him. It actually adds like height to him. It makes him look kind of weirdly enough super duper tall. And I like the fact that you can subtly see the little striped top underneath. And then there's actually a shot of Timmy just with the little striped top and he's like holding his arm over his head. It's just a really nice, beautiful top by Kenneth Ize. And again, I think that Asha Oke, which is the sort of style that Kenneth Ize employs quite a lot, is something that is really, really beautiful, but also in fabrics that are not necessarily hand woven, it actually works. It actually could be something that people who is the everyday Joe Schmo going to work could buy and say, oh, I really like this striped shirt. It's really, really cool. It has beautiful colors in it. It's a little bit punchy. It makes me a little bit more interesting to the people at my job so they don't think I'm dead inside. So honestly, I'm enjoying it. Next up is Tracee Ellis Ross in Loewe. And now listen, again, Jonathan Anderson and Loewe, we talked about it with AOC. The man knows how to make a nice suit, but he always adds this like really strange factor into the look that makes it exciting and interesting and something you want to know about. So it's really a normal, quite simple blazer with what I assume is some sort of oversized pant, but it's mega oversized because it looks like the fabric has been like pleated so heavily or gathered so heavily that it creates this like ridiculous sort of avant-garde shape. In a way, it's interesting to see Jonathan Anderson, who does Loewe, play with shape. He just does it every season. He does it for his own brand where it's like big, boom, over the top. And then for Loewe, it's like, oh my God, this is also gigantic. And in a way, like now with COVID and my eating habits, I'm not really mad at clothes like this. Like it just makes sense. It's kind of easy. It's kind of understandable. It doesn't make you feel bad about yourself. I do think that the little add-ons at the sleeves are also kind of interesting. It ties in the blazer to the pants and I do like it, but it doesn't overtake the look. It just adds a subtle little detail that I quite frankly very much so enjoy. Tracee Ellis Ross honestly just continues to set the bar so high and it makes me very, 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 very happy. Finally, let's talk about the icon Zendaya. Now, Zendaya wore this vintage Versace dress from 1996, I believe, and it's stunning. I mean, there's very little that Zendaya wears that isn't stunning. It's quite simple. It's a beautiful sort of brown, chocolatey colored dress. So it has this sort of high-low bedazzled top. It's sort of simple little spaghetti straps. And the bust is covered in these sort of dark brown little crystals, and then the midriff is shown off, it's sheer, and then as we get towards below the waist, it sort of gets a lot more thicker and, you know, full when it comes to the beading, but it sort of tapers off like at the belly button area and then comes down the side and allows the chocolate sort of like crepey skirt and rest of the dress to sort of come in and take advantage, while not, you know, just cutting it off at the midsection, because I hate when dresses do that. Like red carpet dresses are always like, oh, we have beautiful bedazzled top, and then like taffeta fucking skirt. And it's like, where did the taffeta skirt come from? But here, you know, it's not my favorite thing that's ever done, but at least there's a little bit of, there's a transition of power that went peacefully, in my opinion. Hopefully that happens again. But overall, it's nice to see Zendaya in a vintage sort of style. And also I like Zendaya in Versace. I mean, the most recent Versace Spring/Summer 2021 collection is something that I think Zendaya would actually look really, really beautiful in. So here's hoping, manifesting that into the world. But that is the end of our 2020, no, not October. So that is the end of our October 2020 roast. Let's think of our best and worst look. As for the best look, it has to go to Mary J. Blige in that Hood by Air sort of like bustle skirt style. I don't know, it just feels very referential of sort of historical costume and design and dress, and I really love it that it's been reinterpreted by Shane Oliver to be a lot more modern, have a lot more modern fabrics, have a lot more modern idea of what a dress actually can be, and also brings in iconic Hood by Air techniques and signatures, house DNA. As for the worst look, it goes to Kylie in that Versace dress. Like, it fits, but again, you really couldn't tell me that it's not from Nasty Gal or Fashion Nova or Shein or fucking Wish at this point. It's just, ugh. So that is the end of the video. Please let me know what you guys thought and let me know some of your best and worst looks. I love to hear it. I will see you guys in the next video, and TTYL.